Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. Welcome back to Family and Finance. My name is Rose Joshua. So we're in our job trap series, and today we're going to work on part 3. So in part 1, we kind of introduced the job trap. In part 2, we looked at some root cause, some root causes. And today we're going to continue with some more root causes. Okay, so job trap part 3, and today we're going to look at what I'm calling the age 65 deception. The age 65 deception, and that is a systemic trap that keeps us in the workforce until we're very, very old. Okay, so the age 65 deception. So please pay good attention, because if you are caught in that trap, we need to figure out how to get you out of it. So it is a common mistake that people make with respect to how they work. So basically, from the day a child is born, parents already start the systemic programming. And of course, the parents do the systemic programming because that is all they know, right? Parents can only do what they know, right? So we start saying, okay, this person is going to be an engineer, this person is going to be a doctor, so that way they can make money and then have a good retirement. So that retirement programming starts from the day a child is born, right? Because we start picking possible occupations that will help them to save money for a good lifestyle, right? So we did discuss some of that in parts 1 and 2. So if you break the human cycle into phases, so we look at the formation phase, which is 0 to 6, before they start grade 1, and education, they go from basic, elementary, junior high, senior high, and post-secondary education. So if you combine all of that, education is about 16 years, formation is about 6 years, and then we have this hefty 43-year period in which we're trying to build that nest egg. And the reason we work so hard in trying to build the nest egg is because that nest egg is going to be consumed after this famous worldwide known age 65 retirement age. Okay, so we're spending most of our time just working for that consumption phase. Even the decisions we make in our education, we make it because, oh, I want to do this occupation because I want to make more money, so that way when I retire, I'll have money to spend for retirement. So really, we're racing towards that consumption phase from day one. So if somebody lives to 100 years, they would have spent 65% of their life working for that consumption phase, okay? 65%. So 6 plus 16 plus 43, 65% of their life working for consumption. If somebody was to live to age 80, they would have spent a little less than 80%, actually a little over 80%, 81.25% working for that consumption phase, building up the nest egg so that in that consumption phase, they will be comfortable. And if somebody was to live, say, 70 years, then they would have spent about 92%, 92.86 exactly percent working towards those last 5 years post-retirement. So it's really that post-retirement phase that we're working for. And of course, if somebody lives to before age 65, then they would really have spent their entire life working for the consumption phase that would never happen, unfortunately. So it is a serious systemic problem where we enter a rat race towards age 65 from the day we are born. Now, unfortunately, we're racing towards something that was not set by us. This is an external setting, an external milestone, which has been set by the system, what I would say by government, and is being used by various governments around the world for hundreds of years. Okay, in Canada specifically, there's two key parts of the system that really drives this rat race. And one of them is the old age security, and the other one is the Canada pension plan. Okay, so the government intentionally sets the age where people can start receiving old age security and CPP at age 60 or age 65. Actually, OAS starts from 65. CPP, they say the normal age is 65, but you could start early from age 60 with some penalty. So everybody again is looking at that number 65, which is a very systemic thing, okay? So unfortunately, because old age security and CPP are tied to age 65, a lot of people think, well, I'm just going to keep working until I'm 65. Then when OAS kicks in, then I can stop, right? And then some people take the bait, yield to the temptation to retire at 60 because they say, well, since CPP technically could start at 60, I can take an early retirement and see at 60, and then CPP can kick in. So we really make our decisions around these numbers simply because the government has set the reception of their old age benefits to those ages. So again, what if OAS started at age 55? Then you would notice that most people would then retire at 55. But that's not good for the government. So basically, the government drives us into this work till you drop kind of situation because everybody is pushing to that 65, right? So the government would not change the OAS age to 55 because they want us to stay in the workforce for as long as possible, right? They want to milk the cow until the cow has no more milk. So we just work and slave and work and slave and work for our employers or government or whatever. We work till we drop because government intentionally set that OAS and CPP at that 65 mark. So unfortunately, that's the problem because again, we're not thinking for ourselves. We're letting the government think for us. We're letting employers think for us. We're basically caught in that trap in which, okay, because it's 65, then I'll retire at 65. Now, remember that now there's talk about changing the retirement age to 67. You know what? We know what's going to happen. Most people will then retire at 67. Why? We're not thinking. We're just letting the government think for us. So we need to basically think about it. Now, what happens at age 65, though, is what really worries me. And we need to, again, ask ourselves, when you're 65, just retiring, at that point in time, you're tired. At that point in time, there isn't much life left. So at 65, what more do you have? What more life do you have to live? So really, we would have lived our best life working around the clock, working in the rat race. And basically, at the end of it, we get the peanuts called OAS and CPP. And if you don't actually have your own retirement money, which you save for yourself, you would be in for a rude shock, because OAS and CPP, who knows, one day they're just going to disappear. So what do you have, right? But my biggest concern is that at age 65, there isn't much remaining in that life. You have such a short life to live. You're tired, you're weak, you're mentally drained, physically drained. All you need to do is basically just retire and die. It sounds sad, but I'm just saying it because I need everyone to think about it, okay? So we really must think about this situation. So question for you, are you caught in the age 65 deception? Are you in your 40s and you're thinking, yes, I'm going to retire at 65? Are you in your 30s and you're thinking, yes, when I retire at 65? Are you automatically thinking 65 for retirement? Then you're caught in the deception and you need to do something about it, okay? So the question is, what if? What if you can retire before age 65? Okay? What if? So then you retire, well, OAS is not going to start until age 65, whatever. So what if you retire at 50 and then OAS can kick in whenever it kicks in? And then CPP can kick in whenever it kicks in. It's not really your problem. What if you have your own money so that you can retire and not have to depend on the peanuts called OAS and CPP from the government? What if? So that's the question we need to ask ourselves. So we gotta figure out an escape route. And the reason I use the word escape is because, you know, we're caught in this trap, working as slaves in a farm, just working away. And, you know, we need to get ourselves out of there. So how can you, as a 20-year-old, retire in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s? How can you retire when you can still enjoy life? Because at 65, you don't really enjoy life that much. You know, your sense of enjoyment is limited, right? So how can you retire when you still have strength to take care of your family, be there for your family, be there for relationships, be there for your community, be there for the things you actually want to do? So here is your assignment. Assignment number 3. I want us to do some critical thinking. Critical thinking, again, the question is, what if? What if you can retire earlier than age 65? So your assignment number 3 is, what if I can retire in 10 years' time? 10 years' time, 10. So I want you to really think deeply, really put your mind into it and come up with some ideas for yourself. If you're in your 20s, ask yourself, how can I retire in my 30s? Okay, how can I retire in the next 10 years? And if you're in your 30s, ask yourself the same question, how can I retire in my 40s, and so on. If you're in your 50s, ask yourself, how can I make sure, for sure, I don't, you know, go past age 65, right? So it really depends on where you're at. The reason I'm saying going past age 65 is a lot of people say, okay, because they're going to retire at age 65, they think everything is going to be cool, but then come age 65, they've missed their target. So they're forced to work beyond that. But if you plan to retire earlier, worst case scenario, you might end up retiring at 65, worst case. But really, you need to ask yourself, how can I retire in 10 years' time? 10 years. So you need to plan a 10-year retirement strategy. Really think about it. Ask your family. Do a kitchen table discussion, and come up with some ideas for retirement in 10 years with your own money, not depending on government OAS or CPP. So again, don't go quitting your job now. Don't make any hasty decisions. We need to carefully think this through. We need to carefully plan it. Break down your plan, your 10-year plan, break it into short-term goals and targets, medium-term goals, and really plan out the 10 years, okay? And then execute your timeline. Be very, very, very intentional. And if you need help with that, connect with me at 780-680-1334. Let's brainstorm and come up with some ideas. So that is the end of part 3. Watch out for part 4. And if this has been good, if you've enjoyed this session, by all means, subscribe and share with your friends and help them, encourage them to share and subscribe as well. And so just in wrapping up, we work so hard, but the question is, why are we working so long? Like, we need to live a life that is not always working. Like, we need, especially working till old age. Old age is not a good time to continue to labor. Like, I know we call it labor laws and labor force and labor this, but we really should not labor for too long. We shouldn't labor till age 65, till age 70. It's so wrong. Because then we labor till we drop. We labor till we die. And it's just so wrong. So we really need to think actively about how to extricate ourselves, escape from that rat race. So thank you so very much for listening. Watch out for part 4, and God bless you, and have yourself a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.